UCF at TCU. What a keystone game in the Big 12, by the way. You're looking at two teams that are trying to fight for their spot in that upper echelon of the Big 12, you know, behind maybe Utah and Kansas State. This is a big game. I think in terms of the standings of the Big 12. One, we're going to get to see again one of those litmus test games. We haven't really seen UCF play and when super challenging. We saw TCU get tested a little bit by Stanford, but to be honest,
They got tested a lot of bit, and a lot of it was self-inflicted.
it
A
was
lot of it was
self-inflicted.
self-inflicted, but they got tested.
Stanford, like the defense, I thought performed well against Stanford. I don't think you can disagree. Like I know Stanford put up points, but it was a lot of weird stuff happened in that game, man. All right, like TCU should have covered. All right, should have covered. Still upset about that, but that was like I wasn't discouraged by TCU after the game. I almost felt better about TCU and worse about Stanford because Stanford's offense looked pretty terrible in that game. So I'm very interested to see what this Andy Avalos defense is going to do against a team that has looked really good running the football. And they looked good last year. And they got a new quarterback in town, KJ Jefferson, in that Gus Malzahn offense. It's gonna be a barn burner, probably. The line for this game. Let me see if I can pull it up right here. 1.5. You can get UCF at I guess let's pick it up +1. All right, that's what I'm seeing in most places. Actually, TCU on FanDuel for some reason is +1.5. That's kind of crazy. But we'll take UCF +1. That'll be the line that we pick at. How's that, CD?
Good enough for me. Here's what I'm saying here. You mentioned the matchups. I want to watch Najee Kelly for the edge for UCF, and can he be a difference maker and stop Josh Hoover? I look at TCU and I see a ton of weapons, a ton of players that have made plays. Obviously, the tight end was a monster. Jack Beck against Stanford in week 1. You had JP Richardson look good. Savion Williams, obviously, everyone knows what he is. We saw Eric McAllister get involved last week. That's a fun group. That is a really fun group. And now I think the UCF secondary is frisky for sure. I think there's some young guys in there, um, that are kind of adjusting, you know, to the game, but it'll be weird. It'll be interesting, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Kelly is going to be a guy that I think can be a difference maker, especially, on third down if you get to that going on the road to beat TCU. I think they have a little bit too many weapons, TCU, and I think TCU can get out to a good start. Now, obviously, that they have to clean up their act because they cannot do what they did against Stanford, turning the ball over, penalties, just obviously, unfortunately, kind of the classic TCU for the past couple of years now, past 2 years. You're going to lose this game. UCF will make you pay in ways that Stanford could not, especially with that offense and how explosive they can be. Even though they don't throw the ball, crazy amount, they can still be really explosive, running the football. I think it's big for TCU to be at home, right? That's a big deal. And I think they'll make UCF pass enough early in the game to be able to kind of get a comfortable lead to kind of press UCF, to press KJ Jefferson and some of those weapons and maybe make some bad throws, some bad turnovers. That's where I'm seeing. So I got TCU -1. Obviously, I'll take them to win as well. But again, super, super intriguing because what UCF can do on the ground and the pure mass they can bring. Not only RJ Harvey, who's looking like one of the best running backs in the Big 12, which we knew he was a stud last year. We've seen that before, but Penny Boone and KJ Jefferson in that backfield is something that is really, really scary, I think, on short yards plays and to just kind of deal with the mess that is that UCF running game.
I know the TCU offensive line has looked okay thus far. Are we sure that it's all that good?
I think this UCF D line, I think, is underrated, dare I say.
It
I think
is
there's a ton
very
of
good.
talent.
It is very good. This is the week of the dog. Give me UCF +1 and to win straight up, obviously. Well, why would you take Obviously, if I think they're going to cover +1, I think they're going to win the game, right? But yeah, I like UCF here. I'm I think that defensive line is going to give that TCU offensive line problems that it hasn't seen so far this season. If they get one dimensional, I know that there's weapons on TCU, and we saw JP Richardson do well. We saw Beck. We saw Richardson for uh
Williams.
Williams. We haven't even seen Eric McAllister really do much. But the teams and the secondaries that TCU played against, I mean, Stanford had probably the worst secondary in all of Power 5 last year, and I'm not sure it got that much better, right? And then they played Long Island University, and they look explosive there. Yeah, I'm just on the side here that I don't think TCU's ready for this team that's going to come in there. I think UCF has a chance to out physical them. Even though I think TCU has some physical players on their team, I think UCF could just come in there, out physical them, run the ball effectively. KJ Jefferson taking care of the football, because I trust KJ Jefferson honestly taking care of the football more than I trust Josh Hoover. So, and I know that's on the road, and I like the UCF coaching staff better than I like the TCU coaching staff. Is that crazy?
It might be crazy. Andy Avalos is a dog, a dog. But again, I think it's more about how good that UCF coaching staff is, which is fine. I mean, I'll give you that. You're right though. With UCF, what travels in college football, right? Running the football and defense, especially a pass rush. That is what two things
Defensive line.
that UCF can really hang their hat on, and that's a great thing to be. Great spot to be. Year 2 for UCF. We're talking about them going into Fort Worth and just out physicaling TCU. That hats off to Gus Malzahn, but I do like TCU in this game. Here's my question too. So if I told you that KJ Jefferson attempted 24 passes, do they win the football game?
He attempts 24 passes. Do they win the
So he's
football
at
game?
29 on the entire year. But
Yeah.
it's in two block
Two
games. But
blocks. Yeah, I think they can still win the game. I think if he has 30, they lose.
now if Josh Hoover has 35, which he's kind of on pace for right now, maybe 36. I'll go 36. I I want TCU to run the football. I want to see that offensive line, as new as it is, at least try to establish something. Cam Cook's not bad. I mean, we've seen good things from Trey Sanders. Maybe you can get creative with JP Richardson and other ways to run the football. But like you said, do not put too much on Hoover because he can be in turnover prone at times. We saw last year, and that's not a place where you want to be turning the ball over, because UCF, when they get going, think back to those Auburn teams, right? Like they would go and they would go, right? And they could snowball in a hurry offensively, but also just, piling up points, especially with a good pass rush and an opportunistic defense. This line, so the line, by the way, with the, home field and pipe. So UCF is power rated higher than TCU is, right? Yeah, that's what Vegas is telling me.
I think that's right.
Yeah. I mean,
I mean,
we'll see.
you think it's wrong, but I think it's right. You can disagree.
I do think if this was flipped, I would probably be on UCF, but I do think Hoover at home, I like Hoover at home.